Okay, here we have a 2011, I want to say, Troy-Bilt Storm 2410 snowblower. This one had a no start, which was the carburetor, at least what I diagnosed to be the carburetor. Because we got spark, got everything else, and this thing only has a few hours on it, but it sat for years with old gas in it. Tried to clean this thing out, but I can't get it to work. If you would dump gas straight down the intake, it would start and run. And of course, whenever it would run out of gas from what you dumped into the intake, it was empty. Don't worry, I checked from the tank. It's clean inside the tank. And it would always run down the fuel line, which is why it's positioned up, because it just pours out. But again, there's no other reason as to why this thing won't run. I mean, it's got spark. I mean, it runs. It's just when you would dump it in, it would run. Took this apart, I sprayed it out with carb cleaner. I scraped all the little filters. It just will not work. And apparently it's a really common problem with these snowblowers. So anyway, we went online, and instead of getting a super cheap one, we bought another one of, I don't even know how you pronounce that, but Huayi. And so we picked up this one. I think it was like $25. My dad did, rather. It's his. We bought this from the neighbor. Anyway, 75 bucks, by the way, not bad. It's like brand new. Anyway, they just said they're tired of it. They don't want it anymore. So like 75 bucks, just take the stupid thing. I'm like, okay. Anyway, got this brand new one. I don't think it's a refurb. I think it's just a brand new, either way, completely refurbed or whatever, carburetor. So put this brand new one in. Again, it was like 25 bucks, and it came with a brand new primer bulb as well, which we'll probably end up putting in, even though ours is in good shape. But we'll probably end up tossing the new one in anyway, just because we got a new one, and I don't feel like risking this one. Yeah, this one actually seems to be fine. I think we'll leave it. Again, this thing is like brand new. Otherwise, I'd be like, oh, you know what? We should replace it. But look at this thing. I mean, this thing is literally brand new. I mean, look at the engine. It is about as clean as you can get. Look at that thing. I mean, I don't even think this thing's ever had an oil change in its life. And it is clean. This has got to be one of the cleanest engines I've seen. Seriously. Anyway, so we're gonna leave that. We got a fuel line which came with some clamps as well, little mini hose clamps here, thumb clamps, or we want to call that. Our original line here, which we're gonna reuse, is a tad bit shorter, but again, there's no rod on this thing. Otherwise, I would be tempted to replace. And it doesn't have any hose clamps on it. These are just, it just kind of fits over the plastic fitting there, and then of course into your primer bulb. So anyway, I just let this dangle out of the way. Doesn't really matter that much. That's for your key switch, those wires. Just don't tug on it. Anyway, the one thing I will use are these brand new gaskets. I'm not sure how good they are, but we'll keep the old ones because there's nothing wrong with them. So you can see I left the one back there. So what we're gonna do, hopefully my camera rotates. No. Let's position it right here. Stare at that lovely cobweb at the wall. Okay. Open up our gaskets. Came with 3. That's what you're supposed to have. Now these are silver for some reason. Not that that really matters, but the other ones are green. Anyway, take your old one off from the very, very back. And of course, depending with how much use you have, it may have kind of melted or stuck, you know, really tight. But once again, this thing's barely even used. So, actually, the gaskets that are on here feel like they're a tad bit thicker than. Yeah. These are okay, but I think I'm gonna trust that, honestly. So here is our replacement. Yep, right? I do believe that is our replacement gasket. Okay, but like, All right, so if your gaskets are still good, I would recommend just using your original. Not that it matters, but look at that comparison. Look how much thicker the original green one is, and versus this little like paper thin one. Now these are good, of course. They're brand new, obviously, but I think I'm gonna, considering the low hours and everything else, I think we're just gonna reuse these green ones. It just looks like a better gasket, so that is what we will do. Anyway, it's up to you. You can choose whatever, obviously. But if I were you, if your gasket's in good shape, I would stick with the OG. Because, yeah. Uh-oh. Well, trying to get somewhere here. There we go. Put that gasket right back on the mower. Not mower, blower. I'm so used to working on push mowers. Or riders. Just got a pretty snapper rider not that long ago. On the old ones. Anyway. I don't even have my phone. I'm using an iPad. Phone storage is full. This is probably... Okay, well... Actually, I might be able to use this other jack stand here to hold up the iPad. If I take that thing all the way out. Okay, well, never mind. Good idea, but are we looking at what we need to be looking at? Well, try not to beat up my dad's car here. Okay, well, it's about as good of an angle as I can get here. Actually, I'm probably just aim straight down from the top here. All right, good enough. So here's our new one, like I already said. So we're gonna go ahead and slide that on next. You got our green gasket back in there. You can always put your new one in, of course. But this one, once again, like I said, low hours. You're gonna wanna put this carburetor on like this. That's how it's supposed to sit. Fuel line comes down here, goes into this port here. Anyway, goes on like that. So just make sure that big, tall plastic bit in the back here for your carburetor sits back there. Lift up your cable over it. I wouldn't slide it on fully yet because you're going to want to have a little bit of room to hook on your throttle linkages. Not throttle, your adjuster linkages there. Whatever you want to call those. You can probably see my fingers here. Yeah, good. Okay. So you're going to take this, and you can see there's this little slot right here, this notch. You're going to want to take this bigger rod, the thicker one, and then I think the other baby one is like a governor spring, but I'll show you where that goes in a second. See? Push that out, slide it in there, and then you can fully seat your carburetor, because otherwise you really can't get that in there. This one is this teeny little one here, and you're going to want to poke it into that little baby hole right there. So this one's a bit more difficult, at least from my experience. I got fairly small hands, I would say. But I still can't easily squeeze this one on here. There we go. Try not to bend that up too much because you don't want to, yeah, obviously. Anyway, get your new carb seated in there. Pull that wire out of the way. Okay, it's in there, got that hooked up. Now, you're gonna wanna take your fuel line. I'm trying to think if there's something else I need to be hooking on there first. Probably not. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and do this real quick. I'm gonna watch some fuel go. Ah! You're gonna lose a little bit of gas. Otherwise, you could actually do the smart thing and drain your tank, but you know, I'm not very smart. Well, it's mainly because I'm a bit lazy and don't care, but it's a little bit of gas. It's not going to hurt anything. Anyway, so let's go ahead and pinch that. Try to squeeze it over a new line there. You can see. Get it over there, over this bigger part. That's the bigger part of the fitting here. You want to get that clamp kind of in between, not the very end, but and not at the end of that either. So just in between there. Slide that back in place, like so. And then you're going to take, pull this thing out of the way once again. It's getting in our way. We'll just, our fuel line's kind of forcing back on us a little bit here. Anyway, then you're going to take your flat bracket that you removed from earlier. This flat plate here, it sits out this direction. And your carburetor, let me see, I have it up here. It's this little rod here. And the other day it fell off and I mixed it up trying to hook it in. But it only really goes on one way anyway. There's no huge way to mix that one, so it's not a big deal. But this thing aims this way, as you could probably tell. Actually, it aims that way. That's the hole for your rod, and then this side here is for that knob, for your run or idle adjustment, or whatever you want to call it. Put your gasket in, like this part upright for that little hole here, port to, of course, port through. Very carefully. We don't want to rip this gasket, so I'm trying to be as careful as possible. And then we're gonna go ahead and try this real quick. Again, I don't take my word for the rod quite yet, because we don't exactly know quite yet either, so. I'm going to say that that's probably correct because I mean, look at the angle of it. But we're going to go ahead and barely put our knob on. And actually, the knob probably aims that way. But we'll, you know, we'll know all that once we get this big giant plate up here back in place. It turns about 45 degrees. And it'll aim about down here. It really doesn't feel very super stable. So that, again, this is the one part that I have had a tiny bit of confusion with. I'm going to take that rod, we're going to flip it real quick. I have to say that that probably was the correct direction. Yeah, because that wouldn't make any sense, because this thing needs to be way down here, and see, it's not even going to. So anyway, I was going to say it seems like the right direction, but I wanted to just be sure, since this thing aims down to here. Anyway, it's been a bit since I've had it apart. Probably would have been best if I filmed it from the beginning. But hey, you can kind of watch a reverse video. So anyway, get your gaskets in there like I had showed earlier. This one was still stuck on, but you can kind of see what it looks like from this angle. There you go. But yeah, this one has very low hours, like I said. So this one doesn't really have a need. We don't need to put on those gaskets because the ones that came with are not as nice as what this one came with. And once again, I mean, you can even see by the tires, these things, and this thing is, I don't mean the tread because that wouldn't really mean anything, but like at the sidewall, like just look at that. There's really no dry rot on this thing at all. This thing has been sitting in a garage for most of its life. I mean, really unused. It's super dusty, but a good bath will make this thing pop. Anyway, take your old line off your carburetor, or your new one, whichever you choose. This is for your primer bulb, and you're going to take this and you're going to poke it on this port right here on the side. Get this little thing out of the way. This line goes to the overhead valve manifold cover. Anyway, put that on there. I don't remember which way it goes under. Doesn't think it really matters that much. I'll just tuck it under like that. Actually, I'll put it over it because it's supposed to tuck into the shell. I'll show you in a minute. So anyway, there's that. Now, you're ready for the big part, which is taking this big fat panel here and plopping it over top of everything. The one end you're going to kind of jam around the other side here, and I'll show you what I mean. It's by the electric start. You're going to have to take one of the screws out when you're removing it, and of course putting it back in. You'll have to put that screw back in there. Reverse order. Line that thing up at the pins. I don't really know if I can show you. It's got two little posts that stick off like the entire time we've been putting on stuff with carb. You can pull your pull handle out of the way there. And before you put this in, gonna go ahead and snap in our fuel line, or rather our primer bulb piece. Just push that on your primer bulb, fitting there, like so. Push that in tight. Maybe. Nope. We got to pull back this thing. It's starting to go in at an angle. That part where you have your throttle adjustment, your choke or run switch. That thing will kind of get in the way. It's where the knob goes. And that little thing will kind of bind up on you. Start twisting sideways when you're trying to get that, you know, the shaft to poke through the thing. You can see I'm wiggling it. Anyway, do that, and then you're going to take this line from your valve cover, and you're going to put that into the slot here. There's a little hole back here, so make sure you line that back up. I don't think this is a very critical one that you have to really have, but you know, if you want to do it as right as you can. So go ahead and line that back in place. I don't think I forgot anything. We'll know soon enough, right? Let's look around in our pile of trash to make sure we're not forgetting anything. Doesn't appear so. It looks like we have everything so far. So I will take that as a 100% yes. Go ahead and grab your two acorn style nuts like that, and you will have these two ports, or these two shafts from earlier. And again, that's what you're going to line up with when you're putting this big fat plastic cover back on. So you're just going to kind of finger snug these in place. Two of them right there. And, once you tighten that all up, it'll bring that entire assembly with the carburetor and every other little bracket and whatever else. It'll pull everything tight. This thing will suck down, hold everything in place, really. This is kind of like your end cap. All right, take our freaking I don't even know how long this thing is. Giant extension shaft. Anyway. We'll come back over and snug that in a second. Should be pretty good, but I just kind of want to go over everything. And then over here by your electric start, you can see this one screw I backed out, the lower one, and there's a nut back behind there. You're going to have to poke this big fat casing through there because it wraps around. So let's go ahead and do that. It's a Phillips only, so you're going to need, of course, a Phillips head screwdriver. Crap. We need a Phillips head. Ooh, welcome to the garage of the most random trash. Here's my toolbox. If I can freaking access anything. Okay, we got some super cheap Sharp screwdriver here. This actually came in a car I bought a long time ago. An old 95 Neon. Because, you know, people leave tools in the back of the car. $400 car, and I got a freaking full socket set and everything in it. Not socket set, a full set of wrenches, which I already had. But hey, I'll take more free tools. Nice brand new screwdrivers and everything else. Anyway, you're gonna go ahead and take your screw here, back it out like this. You don't need to fully remove it. Just pull it out like that, and then you will have an open spot right here, that gap, and that's when you take this piece here. You're gonna kind of force it in place, like so. You can see it sticking through there. I'm wobbling it right now. Then you're gonna take this and try. I think it's going through it. Okay. I'm gonna poke that through there real quick. I think it's already in, but I just gotta tighten it now. I think my screwdriver's a little long. Not really long, it's just I'm not in a good space. My dad's car is kind of in the way. Yep, it's going in. Okay. Ow. Oh yeah, there's our giant exhaust shield. I'll show you how to put that back on here in a minute too. Now that's actually been a few days since I've even had that on there. Unfortunately, it got bumped a little bit. Didn't really get too scuffed up, it doesn't appear. It's just kind of dirty. Maybe got a couple scuffs on it, but it's okay. It's a mess in this garage. I mean, there's a car door right there. 67 Chevy. Anyway, enough talking about random garbage. Okay. Get that right over there. That's probably a really good idea to actually try and start this thing. Actually, before you put on your exhaust shield, I just resting it there. You're going to want to put on your cover for the top of your manifold. And this isn't something I don't think you actually necessarily have to remove, unless you're just kind of tinkering around like I was. So just take that little guy, aim the open port this way towards the outer portion, and this back wall is what it butts up against, and then you have these two, whatever I call it, screw holes. There's a technical name I can't think of course, because, you know. But anyway, it's okay. Just gonna aim that like so. These down here. That's what these two slots are for. Anyway, might have to kind of tuck it in the other way too. Maybe I should have done this before I put on the. Let me pull off the primer bulb hose real fast on the top, right where it meets there. There you go. You can kind of slide it in there. Then you can, from here, kind of wiggle it around. Maybe. What is going on? I think since I already have that screw in there, it's snagging on stuff down in there, if I'm not mistaken. Man, yeah, our screw is catching on stuff. Okay, well that makes me a little bit mad. Oh boy, yes it is. Oh my goodness. Oh, would you just not catch on that, please? Ow, that hurt. Okay, well thank you. I love cutting my fingers, by the way. You know, it's just one of my hobbies. Anyway, there we go. There we go. There, get up in there, go. Tuck right through there. Then you can plug in your primer bulb. Again, you shouldn't have to take that out anyways. You can kind of ignore my talk on that. Then you're just going to tighten those two 10mm bolts in. Good. Real quick, I'm just going to go over the screws that I already did. You know, just so we know where we're at. Rather, I kind of like to just go over and snug everything once I've been, you know, making progress. So, good. We're just tightening up our electric start right now. So that is tight, tight. Then you're going to take a ratchet and go over. So the screws I just tightened on the top here, the giant carb housing, whatever you want to call this giant piece of plastic. Tighten up the carb, acorn nuts there, and And then you're gonna go ahead, take your throttle screw here, or your knob, and you're just gonna shove that knob right back on there. Kind of give it a good push. And this one's kind of a difficult one. It's supposed to be a tight squeeze because obviously you don't want to lose that knob. So just give it a really good hard push, and it will kind of seat in there. So let's turn it on the run position. I'll probably need to put it on choke when we're starting it. But anyway, then you're going to take your throttle here, this thing, and this notch goes upright, and you're going to poke it right on there, inside, like that. Again, piece up, and then that will go right into there. Just give it a good push, and it will snap in place. Wow, he actually primes now. So there you go. There's an awesome sign because it was not priming before. I smell gas. So yes, it's working. Yay! We're probably gonna need to put some gas in it, but I brought the gas can back over. Anyway, real quick, you can see down in the tank, it is stupid clean. I think there's enough in there just to give it a quick start. Once we get to that. Okay. And then we got pretty much everything installed, except we got our exhaust shield yet, and this big, like I said, the exhaust shield, that'll sit like so. Pull off that cobweb. Sit like that. Wipe the top off of it. But you can see we got quite a few screw holes. That sits in there. That port sits in there. Sits right there. Okay. Now, it has been a while since I've had this thing apart, and you know, screws kind of mix themselves up a little bit, so bear with me on this part. This is the easy part. Should be the easy part. This is the easy part. If we can possibly tuck this big fat plastic shield in here. Well, first of all, you're going to want to tighten that guy and sort through your screws to find out, you know, which ones go where. Probably a good idea. We had them all gathered up in that little thing. I'm dying. We have six of those silver ones, silver bolts there, and then we have two of these kind of goldish color ones. And those gold ones are going to go at the bottom, down at the bottom there. I just threaded one in to show you real quick, right there. To go in this hole on the plastic cover and that hole. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and move that out of the way, like I was saying earlier. And go ahead and thread in our screw like so. I guess you can see it. Okay. I just kind of like to hold the back of the ratchet. In this case, we're just going to spin it because We won't fully tighten it yet. We're actually going to put the other ones in real fast. Keep tripping over that thing. Okay. Go ahead and put them in the side as well of your exhaust shield. That one too. Ta-da! That one there, that one there. Oops, almost dropped one. You can see in there we got 2 screw holes as well right here. I tried. Just knocked down that giant plastic cover. It's one of the reasons why I brought in my ratcheting 10mm wrench, so I can actually get into these tight spaces. And then you have this one right here. Again, that's the reason why when you're putting these screws in, do not wrench them down. I'd say it's probably people that are doing this already know that, but don't wrench down screws when you're trying to take something or put something back together. Because you're going to need, if you're putting in other screws for that certain item in particular, you're probably going to need to loosen them so you can actually get the other ones to go in place. Because when you tighten it down, then you can't move the item to get everything kind of lined up perfectly like it needs to be. So anyway, tighten that down. I'm just tightening all of them by hand. So the left one here, where my thumb is. Cut my nails, yes, I'm well aware. Tighten down these other 2 real quick over here. Just finger tightening everything. Probably should try to test start it, you know, so you actually know if this piece of junk works. But I have full confidence. You know what? We're gonna just say that, even though I don't have really any confidence for this thing 100% working. But I will say that I have confidence because, you know, why not? That'll just make it work, right? If I say it will, it will. Okay, good. Glad we got that cleared up. Tighten that up. Again, this is why I have the ratcheting 10mm. I'd recommend using one of these guys. And we're just going to kind of tighten them all up now, like I said. And then, once we get them all tightened, I'm going to go over them one more time just because I like doing that. So. And then, we're going to go ahead and take our ratchet and tighten down that one that's kind of tucked in here, like that. So anyway, tight, 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 tight. Then you're going to take your ratchet, or your ratcheting wrench, and tight, tight. Now, take your big fat plastic cover, safety shield, whatever we call this stupid thing, and jam the stupid thing back. It's a big fat pulley cover. I hate this thing. I don't even remember how I ripped it out of here. I just ripped the stupid thing up and out. It sits like that, you know, and you can kind of jam it back in there. Maybe not really. I would recommend putting this back in, and I know I did not take the chute off. I'll tell you in a second how I got the stupid thing back in. I'm currently, oh, there we go. I think we're getting somewhere. I'm just kind of smashing it in first thing on blower side, or where the chute is for the snow to come out, for it to launch it. Okay. I feel like we're actually getting somewhere now. Are we, or are we just breaking this thing? Big fat plastic cover, man. But the crap. Okay, well, crap. I just jammed it in this corner here and then just kind of pushed it in there. So there you go. Now you don't get to see any of the ugliness anymore. And you got your 2 gold screws, which you drop down here because I'm a klutz. At least I can fix garbage, right? No? Okay. Just kind of thread them in. Cover might be kind of stiff. You know, you gotta kind of work around it, trying to freaking get this bolt to thread in here. Put my finger over it, tighten that down. Now this one you don't want to go too crazy on, because I mean this just is a big giant plastic cover. This one doesn't really, you know, do much. This one's not very critical is what I mean if it's really tightened. Actually, there we go. It really doesn't want to ratchet anymore. There we go. Okay. Go to the other side, do the same exact thing. Okay, almost there. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. Anyway, we're almost done. I'll show you what I tightened in a second. That one feels pretty snugged. That one feels pretty snugged. It's always the first time you tear into whatever item it is that it's kind of scary. Because then you're like, oh, where did that go? Where did that go? And, you know, once you've been in here 500 times, you know where everything goes. And even more. And there's no problem whatsoever. Oh, man. Getting ready to start this pile. I already had this Phillips head screwdriver laying on the floor. I didn't even notice it. Wah, wah. Typical of me. I was gonna say I thought I had one, but anyway. And don't matter. Let's put it away. I'm just trying to make sure everything gets nice and snug. I always end up doing this crap. So right there, see it's tight, and it is tight. Okay, we're good. Tighten up that one, and that one down in there. So now, truth. Will it start? Snowblower. Let's open up the garage door. It's cold outside, which is why we're trying to get this thing ready to go. Oh, there's my neon. Okay. this thing's got a solid diff in it. So you really can't go too far. You know what? I'll just say if it's started or not later. And if it's a fail, I just won't post this. Anyway, I'll just put it in the description if it runs or not, because I don't have enough time to do this and I can't really position the camera up. So anyway, thanks for watching.